The HOK is the toughest environment. Enter at your own risk is the toughest environment. The HOK is the toughest environment. Yeah, stay strong, don't cry. It's the toughest environment. Yeah. No handouts here. You have to earn your respect. And when you do, you make they ass regret. They call it the toughest, and the title is earned from the bridges we crossed and the lessons we learned. In a cold-blooded kingdom, a concrete cage. Muslim, Christian, Israelites step on the stage. I dare you, I dare you, I dare you, I dare you. In a cold-blooded kingdom, sa.neter created. HOK, where you can't fake it. The HOK is where you fight back. No room for error, no window attack. It's a masterclass, how you handle the heat. Where the pedigree is written on the concrete streets. Toughest environment, yeah, we know the score. Locked in on debate and asking for more. The HOK is the toughest environment. Enter at your own risk is the toughest environment. The HOK is the toughest environment. Stay strong, don't cry. It's the toughest environment. Yeah.
Yeah, y'all already know what it is. We got my man Kalam in the building, Titans TV. What up, Kalam? Long time no see.
Man, it's been a long time coming on to this panel, man. Hey, sa.neter, we love you over here in the UK. You know, just gotta let you know that.
Thank you, man. You got to bring me in then. And I would love to go to the speaker's corner, all of that. You know.
Oh, that would love
to get over there.
That would be epic, man. You actually got to make that happen for real. Word. But yeah, we brought the brother from the UK. You know, this is strictly Brother Kalam's presentation.
Right.
You know, for some of you that don't know, Brother Kalam has been a pivotal. He's actually a pioneer in the Black conscious community, I'd say, at least in the UK.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And he's done a lot of footwork, man. Some of y'all might not know, but some of you guys do. He was over there, Speaker's Corner, you know, causing major havoc, riots, all types of things, you know. so we're happy and glad to have him here. He's brought to present some much needed light on an area in African history that's been largely ignored by mainstream scholarship. So this is his hypothesis, and I want Brother Kalam to get all the flowers for this, man, for real.
I want to ask Kalam because I've seen people saying things. So I want to ask you, are you a Muslim, brother?
I'm not a Muslim. I'm definitely not a Muslim at all. I know, don't let the big beard.
Okay.
So, you know what? Their signal over here is terrible. I don't know if am I cutting up?
No, you're good. You sound good to me.
Okay. On my side, you're very choppy. So, but yeah, please don't let the big beard fool you. I'm definitely not a Muslim at all.
Okay, so hey, let the people know what you're about to get into, and then we could go on from there. You hear me?
All right. So bear with me because it's very, very choppy. I'm hearing every other word on my end. I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, today I'm going to be, doing a presentation on a stolen legacy. And this legacy is, of course, we're talking about Islam right now. And when I say the legacy, it's in particular the Quran and the historical Muhammad. Both the Quran and the historical Muhammad was co-opted earlier on inside of the 7th century and taken over by northern Arabs and made in and after their likeness and their image. But thankfully, we have archaeology, new findings, new discoveries that's allowing us to peer into the ancient records, the late antique records, showing what took place in the Arabian Peninsula in the 6th century, and how the Ethiopians, there's two particular groups of Ethiopians. You have the Axumites and the Abyssinians. They were the ones that actually controlled the Arabian Peninsula in the 6th century and into the 7th century. A lot of people don't know this information. So a lot of the times when I speak this information, they'll be like, Kalam, why are you trying to make everything black? And I'm like, listen, I wish I was just, trying to make things black or whatever you want to say. I have nothing to gain from this. The reason why, because I'm not a Muslim, I am not an Arab, I am not an Ethiopian, I'm not Yemenis. I'm not claiming that they're any of our people. And I'm definitely not promoting the religion of Islam to you at all. It's just an area of study. Thankfully, being at Speaker's Corner, it kind of opened up my eyes to a lot of stuff that got me interested and piqued my interest to actually go and research the historical origins of this religion that is very prominent over here in the UK called Islam. And it was very, eye-opening and jaw-dropping to find certain information. And I'm actually going to present that information to you guys today. Hopefully, you will be as shocked as I was shocked and, quite impressed by what actually took place in the 6th century that's been literally hidden from us for a lot of years now.
So, all right. So if you're ready, I'm going to throw up your presentation right here. And there it is.
Okay. So let me see if I can
just for clarity's sake, Brother Kalam, would you say that you're like a real Christian or just a cultural maybe Christian just from the environment you've come up in?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. I'm culturally I'm Christian. Culturally I'm Christian, and I would say philosophically minded, I am Kemetic.
Jeez.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Come on, Easy Bandz. Yes, Kemetic. Sir. He said definitely Kemetic. Get on board, Easy Bandz. You could be a Christian and be Kemetic, brother.
I heard that. That's a good thing for the people to know as well, right? You can you can adopt both kind of like viewpoints.
Definitely.
They
100%.
don't always have to conflict. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. I've got it on full screen. Is it full screen on your end?
It's on full screen now.
Yeah, perfect. So okay. So let's get it started. So right now we're going to be discussing the stolen legacy, and we're going to be rediscovering the Abyssinian origins of Islam. Now, I usually start these presentations and ask a question. The question goes a bit like this. What does Santa Claus and Muhammad have in common? The answer to this is, apart from them both being legendary figures, they were both birthed out of historical figures. Santa Claus was birthed out of the 4th century Christian bishop from Byzantium named Saint Nicholas, whereas Muhammad was birthed out the 6th century Christian bishop from Abyssinia, so-called named Saint Muhammad. Now, over here on the left-hand side, I just want you to see the imagery of St. Nicholas. This imagery over here is inside of the Basilica of St. Nicholas in Bari in Italy. A lot of Catholics and Orthodox Christians literally go do pilgrimage to this particular cathedral and go there to actually venerate this saint. Apart from the Mother Mary, he is the most venerated saint in the whole of Christendom. But how many of you guys know that this individual was actually a brown-skinned man from Turkey? I think most people, we would know that. Most people were more familiar with, the white Santa Claus imagery that we see every Christmas period or every, whatever time period there is. We usually see this white, big, fat, jolly man that lives in, where is it? Is it in Antarctica or the North Pole or whatever the case is? But nobody actually understands the history of where this individual actually came from and how his story morphed and was embellished to the point that it is completely removed from the historical figure. And I'm simply saying that the same thing too also happened to the historical Muhammad. His story was changed. His story was fabricated. His story was embellished, because most of you, if I ask 100, people out there, just random people, out of 100 people, 99% of, or 99 out of 100 people would say that Muhammad was a white man. Kalam, what are you talking about? Muhammad was a white man. He was a white Arab from Mecca, whatever the case is. Okay, and I'm saying to you, listen. I know you've been, hoodwinked by the traditions. I know you've been fed and indoctrinated this particular version. But over here today, we're going to be discussing stuff that we learned with inside of academia, what we learned with inside of the, Department of Islamic Studies and the Department of South Arabic Studies as well. So let's get into this. So my thesis today in discussing the stolen legacy of Abyssinia is this, that the Islamic narrative of Muhammad and the Abyssinian king was based on the historical event of Muhammad ibn Kabsha and King Abraha. The apparent split between the historical and the Islamic Muhammad was caused by the numerous vying political parties and propagandists inventing, fabricating, and suppressing stories and reports to further their own agendas. And as I said, most people, the first thing that they want to start off with is, they can't get past the fact that Muhammad is a white man. And we're going to just touch on that real quickly, so then we can get past it and really dig deep into the thesis that we have today. So this is like one of the most famous things that everybody talks to me about, that, this imagery over here on the left-hand side is the Muhammad that most people are aware of. Okay, this Iranian-looking individual over here, or Aryan-looking individual over here. But I'm actually going to give a quote from a very famous Islamic scholar. He's a famous historian, famous genealogist as well. And he says, this is Ibn Kalbi, by the way. He states, they had changed the description of Allah's messenger. Allah bless him and give him peace in their scripture. They made him white and tall, while the prophet of Allah, bless him and give him peace, was brown and of medium height. So we're going to show you this imagery over here. This is the imagery that most people, in the Islamic world don't want you to hear about, don't want you to know about. But I want you to look at these, how can I put it, these sources and citations. So you can copy these sources and citations, go back and research it, and present this information to your Muslim brothers and sisters, and kind of educate them about the, how can I put it, the Africoid features of these individuals that were on the Arabian Peninsula. So real quickly, just to jump into the hadiths out there, you can find within inside of, if you go onto sunnah.com, you'll find this information there. Okay, so on sunnah.com in Jami al-Tamidi, you have information that letting you know that the Messenger of Allah was of average height, neither tall nor very short. He had a good build, brown in complexion. The Arabic is highlighted in red on the second line at the bottom. And it says here, Asmara al-Lawun, meaning brown skinned, brown of complexion. So I'm just going to go through about 7 hadiths real quickly, so you can actually see that even within inside of the Islamic traditions, there is this depiction of Muhammad being an Africoid featured individual. So again, another one here says that he had a wheat colored complexion. The Arabic yet again is Asmara Lawun, which again is brown. Asmar is brown in complexion, and again wheat colored complexion, but again we highlight it, they keep hiding it on the wheat colored, but we know that it says asmar, which literally means brown skinned yet again. So now just want to get these things out of the way. So we have the imagery I put up of a brown skinned man with locks on there. And again, with inside of the narrations, it tells you that this individual had locks hanging down to his shoulders. He had 4 side locks, and that he also, stuck his hair together with gum. This is the locking process that took place called talabid, where they used to literally, clump their hair together to create the locks themselves. So when you see this imagery over here on the right-hand side of him being a brown-skinned man with locks, know that it's not something that is foreign with inside of the Islamic traditions. It's just that these are the traditions they don't want you to know. They want to present a white imagery of Muhammad, and they would depict Muhammad from the Ottoman periods, the Iranian, Sassanid periods, and so forth, they would present him in and after their own likeness and image. And this is why you think today, when we're discussing Islam and what took place, that these individuals were white-skinned individuals. But in reality, if you go back into the archaeological records, you will see, cave paintings of all these individuals. The women have braids in their hair, and the men usually carried locks, basically. So just to get that out of the way, and again, just to hit it up real quickly as well, we have here from within inside of the Islamic Quarterly, we have one of the most famous polymaths within inside of the Abbasid period, and this is Al-Jahiz, and he collates all of the reports regarding the virtues of Black people within inside of the Arab community and the Ethiopian community. And it says here that Hassan ibn Thabit made mention of the Khudr of the tribe of Ukaim in the following verses. The word there, Khudr, most people might know of Khidr, which basically means the green one or the black one. It basically means dark-skinned individuals. It says here, boasting, you are neither from the clan of Hashim, a noble family. So a Hashim is the great-grandfather of Prophet Muhammad, nor from the clan of Jumah, the Khudri and mighty. So they're boasting about how dark-skinned these individuals were. And it adds, the 10 lordly sons of Abdul Muttalib. Abdul Muttalib, for those of you guys who are maybe new to this topic, is the grandfather of Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad inside of Islam. And it says here, the 10 lordly sons of Abdul Muttalib were very black in color and large of body. When Amr ibn al-Tufail saw them circumambulating the Kaaba, like dark camels, he said, with such men as these is the custody of the Kaaba preserved. Abdullah ibn Abbas had Abdullah ibn Abbas, this is the uncle of the Prophet Muhammad. Abbas is the cousin of the Prophet Muhammad, was also mentioned to be dark-skinned and was large of body. The family of Abu Talib, the most noble of men, is more or less dark-colored as well, black-colored as well. So as you can see, within inside of the Islamic records, there is this mention of these individuals being dark-skinned individuals. There's even mention of them having Abyssinian ancestry, which I'm just going to quickly bring up to you guys over here. So within inside of Ibn al-Jawzi, Illuminating the Darkness, as well as Muhammad ibn Habib, Kitab al-Muhabar, we have mentioned here inside of the Arabic. It says here that the Habashi, these are the sons of the Habashi women from Quraysh. And over here you have Ibn Hashim ibn Abdul Manaf. He himself had a son from an Abyssinian woman. So we're just letting you know that these people were, very much so mixed in with the African population. They themselves were of African stock or African descendancy as well. There's even a boast of them going back, tracing their lineage back to the heroes of Saba or Sheba. And again, if you know anything about the Queen of Sheba, one of the most famous individuals within inside, or black queens within inside of biblical literature. It's also mentioned within inside of the New Testament, inside of the Gospel. It's letting you know that these individuals go back to these Ethiopian people. All right. Now, let me just switch gears a little bit, because again, like a lot of this stuff, people are always saying we don't get taught this. Like, what we know about when it comes to Islam, is these light-skinned Arab individuals. And most of these people that you see that you believe to be Arabs, they're actually not Arabs themselves. They are an admixture of Persians, an admixture of Turkish people. They're an admixture of all different Mediterranean individuals that came into the Arabian Peninsula. But that's a story for another day. So real quickly, just to let you know, literally in the turn of the 6th century, okay, this is the century, the traditional dating of when Muhammad, lived was in the 6th century. It's letting you know that at the turn of the 6th century, in the 500s, the Ethiopians, the Aksamites, actually took control of the whole of the Arabian Peninsula. Okay, so I'm going to read a bit. It says here, nevertheless, it soon fell under the domination of its neighbor, the African kingdom of Aksum, which Arabian sources called Abyssinia, while Himyar had chosen Judaism. Let me skip a little bit. Aksumite suzerainty over Himyar gaining traction when Mathad Ilan Yanov ascended the throne around 500, was more firmly established under his successor, Ma'ali Karib Ya'afor. Syriac sources recall that this king was Christian and that he was placed on the throne by Aksum. So if you wanted to see where Aksum is, at the bottom of this map, on the left-hand corner, on the African peninsula, you will see Aksum, and that empire right there stretched all the way in East Africa up into Egypt, and all the way across the whole of the Arabian Peninsula. They had taken over the Himyarite kingdom of Arabia that had control of the Arabian Peninsula, and they were putting puppet kings into government. So most times, like, nobody hears about this. Like I always say, because I'm always on academic channels to do with Islamic studies, and all the time, all they would like to tell you about is the Byzantine Empire, the Sassanid or the Persian Empire, and how it relates to Islam. But all of them are completely silent about how the Ethiopians, the Africans, the Aksumites, and the Abyssinians, how they were actually, ruling the Arabian Peninsula, where the other groups never ruled the Arabian Peninsula, and they never had an influence on the Arabian Peninsula, like how the Aksumites and the Abyssinians did. So I just want to put this map up there for people to know. And let me just keep on going a little bit again. So again, we got here in Michael the Syrian also, notes this as well. It says here that Caleb put the country of the Himyarites under his sway and enthroned a king named Abraha. Abraha is a king that we're going to be talking heavily about, because this is the king that was alive and ruled and brought about, the historical Muhammad, and brought about the historical Quran. And over here, it talks about, again, how, over in those areas of the world, you have India, which is basically an ancient late antique word for South Arabia and parts of Africa. It says here that these kingdoms, the Indian kingdoms and the Kushite kingdoms, they basically made up 14 of the 24 zones of the known world. Meaning, in the known world, there's 24 zones in the known world. These two empires put together, well, technically speaking, they were all underneath the Aksumite empire at that time. So the Aksumite empire held 14 zones of the known world during the 6th century. And if you go think about, the other known empires, you have the Byzantines and the Sassanids. They would have, only have, let's just say those two combined would have 5 each, 10. And then that makes up 24. Even them combined wasn't as large as the Aksumite empire. But the problem is, if Aksum was the world power, the superpower of its day, why doesn't nobody within inside of academic circles, religious circles, whether it's my Christians or my Muslims, why don't nobody talk about this particular empire and its influence and impact on the Arabian Peninsula? And I always say, racism is alive, they're just concealing it. I repeat that again. Racism is still alive, they're just concealing it. So a lot of people don't know this information. It's going to sound wonderful to them, but this is what was going on. The Aksumites were in control of the Arabian Peninsula during the life of the traditional dating of Muhammad. Okay. So over here, we have a nice little slide, and this is coming from Professor George Hatkay. He's a professor in Vienna of Islamic studies and a few different languages as well. And he talks over here, showing you the empire of Abraha. Okay. Abraha's empire was literally the whole of the Arabian Peninsula. In the 550s, he had to literally do a few military campaigns to subdue certain tribes of Ma'ad and others. And over here, you can see, he literally states here, with only Oman remaining under Sassanid rule, most of Arabia was ruled by an Ethiopian Christian within a mere 2 decades of Muhammad's birth. Okay. So I'm just showing you, like, everything that I'm presenting to you today. This is all part of, mainstream academia, where you could literally go back, open up textbooks of South Arabia, and you will find this inside of the history books as well. So over here, we know that, how can I put it? Inside of South Arabian historiographic information, we have reports of there being a particular individual called Muhammad ibn Khuzai, from the Dakhwan tribe of the Banu Sulaim. And he was associated with prophethood. He was, he had his own creed, and he was with Abraham, and that he was crowned by Abraham, and he was given two particular missions, or two particular offices, one of being a religious bishop, and the second one as being the Amir of Mudar, which is basically the Hijazi region, meaning the Western Arabian, on the west of the Arabian Peninsula. He was given charge and control of that whole area there, which is very, very, very interesting. Very interesting, right? We also find this information recorded inside of Greek Eastern Orthodox accounts, where we find not the name Muhammad, unfortunately. We find him under a pseudonym. Okay, academics know that this pseudonym of Gregentius, it was completely made up, but there is a historical core to this, and this individual otherwise is known as Macorius, meaning the Blessed One. Okay, so this Macorius, the Blessed One, was a prophet of the Himyarites, i.e. the Arabian Peninsula, and he was also an apostle, and he was given, he received a divine book as well. And all this happened underneath the King Abraham. So we have various different accounts inside of the historiographic Arabic accounts, and also the Greek Eastern Orthodox account of a particular apostle and a prophet who had a divine book during the time of Abraham in the Arabian Peninsula. Now, what's very interesting is we find the earliest Qurans not in Mecca, not in Medina, but we find them in South Arabia, inside of Yemen. In particular, inside of Abraha's cathedral that was later converted into a mosque. The earliest Qurans, which date roughly to 568 to 645, these Qurans, was found directly inside of Abraha's cathedral, where his Archbishop Muhammad was buried. And as I said to you before, when it comes to Santa Claus, they literally moved Saint Nicholas's birthland, where he grew up, from Turkey, and placed him all the way over into the North Pole. The most I don't even go there. The most Nordic thing to do. Yeah, let me just put it like that. The most Nordic thing to do. Let's place him all the way over into the north. It's the same thing that happened to the historical Muhammad. They took the originality of where he was in Yemen, Sana'a, and moved him all the way up into Mecca. But we'll touch on that on another show, maybe. Okay, real quickly. Again, most people don't know this, that the earliest Sira-Maghazi literature is basically the biography and the life and works of what Muhammad did. The earliest literature of his life and works was literally confined to the fires. Under the patronage of Abdul Malik and his son Suleiman, they said, okay, let's collect these early reports of Muhammad. But they started to realize that these Abyssinians, these Ansars, were heavily promoted within inside of the Syrian literature. And the Umayyads, Abdul Malik and co, were like, we're not pleased with this information, because they were at odds with the original community in the south. Originally, Muawiyah was the first one actually to go to war with the southern Arabians. They marched down. This was like the first, how can I put it? The first civil war that took place. They marched down into South Arabia. They pillaged, they raped, and they murdered the original community of the faithful. Later on, Abdul Malik commissioned others to rewrite the story of the historical Muhammad. They went so far as to actually curse the family of Muhammad, i.e. Ali ibn Abi Talib. They did so much. You'll have to literally just go back into the records. You'll find a lot of this information within inside of the traditional literature of Islam, and you will see what type of atrocities took place to these southern Arab tribes. All right. And again, we talked about the southern Arabs and the northern Arabs, and we see here that going back to Abraha, we see that this says here the Arabic Muslim traditions present a different picture, with many details giving to Abraha the standing of a great Arabian king, while others turning him into a presumptuous, sacrilegious king punished by God for having attacked the temple of Mecca. The positive elements are obviously of South Arabian origin. In Yemen, Abraha, whose name is included in the genealogies, was considered a legitimate king. The perversion of Abraha's image probably has its basis in the traditions of Mecca transmitted by the theologians of Islam. So we can see that the historical accounts were starting to be perverted and corrupted very, very earlier on with inside of the Umayyad period, unfortunately. But fortunately, again, we do still have the accounts and records of these South Arabians and others actually praising Abraham. I'm going to give you a few of these quotes from Al-Jahiz. He says here, another verse describes Abraham as the greatest king, and another one praises Abu Yaksum as surpassing any immortal creature if ever there was one. A lot of praise was given to this particular king. But unfortunately, the northern Arabs, had something else to say. In the original narrative, there is a narrative where Abraha was actually the king, or Abraha was the one that visited Muhammad with inside of Medina with his cousin Ja'afar. And his son also, Zul Mahmar, who's also known as Yaksum, where Abraha gets his name Abu Yaksum from, was also present and visited Muhammad. But a lot of people don't know this information because, yet again, the imagery of Abraha was completely perverted in order to hide the historical Muhammad and king story. It says here again, the grandfather Abraha, the protector of Abu Talib. So most people don't even know yet again, because everybody thinks that Abraha wasn't even alive during the time of Muhammad and Ja'far and Abu Talib. But it says here within these records that Abraha actually was the protector of Abu Talib. The word there being used, protector, is hami, which basically is like it's almost like you are a relationship. You have a particular relationship. It's either a very special friend relationship or it's a familial relationship, because to be a protector of or hami of somebody means you are now the superintendent. You are the manager of their family, their wealth, and their property. That's what it literally means. So it's very interesting that when you go deep into the historical records, you will see that there's another story that's been hidden, that's not being told. But the more that we actually go into the Abyssinian origins of Islam, the more and more this information is going to start coming out. Yet again, we talked about, the differences within inside of certain literature. It says here that the historically orientated sources, shows Abraha in a very good light, whereas the hadith versions or the prophetic sayings, the religious ones, show him in a very bad light. So you have the historical reality or the historical narrative, and then you have the religious traditions coming from the Umayyads and onwards that really try to corrupt the imagery of Abraha. Now we also see that this taking place again within inside of the literature as well. It shows that there is another group called the Kinder tribe, which is another prominent group within inside of the Arabian Peninsula. They came to Muhammad, and this is the erasure yet again of the identity of Muhammad. They came to him and it says, "We are the sons of the eater of bitter herbs, and so are you." I want you to just hold that into your mind. The Kinder tribe, or the rulers of the Kinder tribe, came to him, said to him, "We are the sons of the eater of bitter herbs, and so are you." They're claiming familial relationship. And just for you guys to know who the eater of bitter herbs is this individual here. This is actually the historical Muhammad's grandfather. And it says here, there's an account. I want to just get this account out to you. It says here, "On the way, we said to Amr, methinks I see a black man." I'm going to repeat. "I think I see a black man with blubber lips like those of a camel eating bitter herbs, who has seized thy neck," meaning Al-Harith. So he was called the eater of bitter herbs. Now this person over here, the eater of bitter herbs, yeah, the Kinder tribe was saying, "We are of his seed," i.e. we are his children or great-grandchildren or grandchildren, whatever the case is, "and so are you." This is the imagery here. They said, no. We don't follow our mother's lineage to disown our fathers. So it says here, Al-Ashaf said, "Have you finished? O men of Kinder, by God, if I hear a man saying this, I will give him 80 strokes." So I want you to see an image of what's taking place over here. First, you have the Umayyads burning the earliest narrative of Muhammad. And then those who even claim that Muhammad came from the eater of bitter herbs, this particular black man over here, if anybody in the tribe said such a thing, they would receive 80 lashings, basically. A lot of Islamic history, you'll find out there was a lot of threats of violence, and actual assassinations or killings that took place to suppress certain information that they didn't want to get out. Sorry, did you want to say something?
No, go ahead. You talking about me?
Cool.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, cool.
No, we good.
Cool. So, yeah, and this individual, Al-Harith, he's also known as Abu Kabsha. And if you know anything inside of Islamic literature, Muhammad is curiously called Ibn Abi Kabsha. Most people don't understand what it means, but Sean Anthony says here, meaning descendants of Abu Kabsha. This was a derisive nickname for Muhammad, the original significance of which is disputed. One explanation asserts that Abu Kabsha was an ancestor of Muhammad from the tribe of Khuzah, who became infamous when he rejected his tribe's idolatrous religion. Thus, Muhammad's enemies called him Ibn Abi Kabsha because he too abandoned his tribe's religion. Now, if you know anything about the original Al-Harith, which is this individual here, who is also, his kunya is Abu Kabsha because his son was Kabsha, you will know that he himself also converted to Christianity, and he spread Christianity throughout the Arabian Peninsula when he made he had a fetus with Anastasius, the Roman emperor at the time. Actually, it's even mentioned over here. Let me just quickly go back. Right here, right at the bottom, it says here, with the support of the moderate Arabs, whose chiefs, the Banu Thalabat, were elsewhere known as the Arabs of the Romans. Around the same period, the Kindite prince that Himyar placed over Ma'ad in central Arabia apparently concluded an alliance with the Roman Emperor Anastasius. He was killed in 528, and his descendants remained the object of Roman diplomatic interest. Okay, so this particular Al-Harith, Abu Kabsha, he literally made a alliance with the Roman emperor. And when you make these alliances with this Roman emperor, you would have to, in those times, you would have to convert to the religion of the Romans themselves in order for them to actually deal with you. And that's what took place. And it's very interesting that, 2 generations later, his grandson, Muhammad, was also, part of this Roman diplomatic interest. And you'll find that Abraha as well was part of this Roman diplomatic interest, and they were the ones who brought about the Quran. They were the ones who brought about the Christianization of the whole of the Arabian Peninsula to a particular form of Christianity that wasn't prevalent before on the Arabian Peninsula. So it's very, very interesting information. And I know you love that.
Yep. Yeah. Word.
And I'm literally coming to the end of the presentation. There is so much more. I know Easy Band, he knows, he's on my channel. We do hours-long presentations of just going through a lot of information. My brother Easy Band said, please just drop them something real easy to digest. And then, hopefully we can come back and do some more presentations and do more in-depth presentations. So I just want to quickly just show you, something that academic scholars have realized. And this is called a generational shift. So each generation literally embellishes or fabricates or changes the story somehow. So the historical account is that Muhammad and his tribesmen went to Abyssinia, which is in the Yemen, to King Abraha. Then you have the early narratives, which has come from Urwa. It says that the messenger of God commanded them to depart from the land, depart for the land of Abyssinia. So instead of Muhammad actually going to Abyssinia, which is in the Yemen with King Abraha, Urwa's story says that his followers went to Abyssinia, and it also leaves out who the king's name was. Then again, we have another generation, which is Zori, which was technically he was younger, but he was contemporary with Urwa yet again. And it says that Khadija bin Khuwailid hired him, sending Muhammad to Habasha, again Abyssinia, a market in the Tihama. She also hired alongside him another man from Quraysh. So this is one story. Then Ibn Ishaq completely changes the story. Instead of him going to Abyssinia, he now goes to Syria. Okay, so you can see where it begins to start. It all starts with really and truly Ibn Ishaq, who really changes the narrative away from Abyssinia over into the northern regions of Syria, and then Al-Waqidi goes again and changes the narrative, and adds a little bit of spice to the story. And you'll find this information within inside of Sean Anthony's Muhammad and the Empires of Faith. And he says here, the tradition, right at the bottom, I'm going to read right at the bottom. It says here, the tradition was, of course, a manifest forgery shot through with anachronisms, a fact already noted by some medieval Muslim hadith critics. He's basically saying that when you keep going down from generation to generation, you see the evolution of the stories, how they completely change away from going to Abyssinia to now going to Syria, and how different generations just exaggerated things and just literally wholesale made up information to sell a particular narrative. Okay, so that technically should be it. And just concluding remarks, rediscovering the Abyssinian origins of Islam. By now, we've kind of realized that the Muhammad and Negus narrative, or the Muhammad and the Abyssinian king narrative, is based on the historical Muhammad and King Abraham, that the northern Arabs demonized Abraha and his southern Arabians. The northern Arabs Umayyads suppressed the southern Arabian narrative. Successive generations of storytellers and historians innovated and fabricated reports, thereby obscuring the historical narrative. The byproduct of the above resulted in the subversion of the Abyssinian Christian origins of Muhammad and his religion to the co-opted and corrupted version of what we know Islam is today. And I'm talking about the dominant version of Islam, which is Sunni Islam. There are other versions of Islam, such as Shia Islam, that has a completely different story, and you have the Ibadi Islam that has a completely different narrative as well. But most people in the West are only familiar, with Sunni Islam, really and truly. And again, family tree, I do have a channel called the Abyssinian Origins channel that most of this information will be uploaded onto that channel. And you will definitely find a lot of downloadable links on there, as well as downloadable books and resources in order for you guys to do your own research. So I would try to get you guys to subscribe on there and then message me on there. Of course, I have my own personal channel, which is Titans TV, where I do a lot of my presentations. But the plan is to have a dedicated space where all of this information goes, which will be on the Abyssinian Origin channel. And on there, the goal or the aim of that channel is to unpack the Abyssinian Arabian context of the Quran, unpack the Abyssinian Arabian context of Muhammad's life, and present scholarly works on the 6th century Aksum, Himyar, and Habasha rule or empires. And that is to conclude this presentation.
All right. Easy man, talk to him.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, Brother Kalam, perfect, beautiful presentation, direct and straight to the point, nice, short and sweet, and digestible for the people. I wanted to ask you, though, when and how is it said that Christianity entered into Ethiopia?
Ethiopia, as in, okay, so that goes back into Frumentius, basically in the 3rd to 4th century, is said to have entered there. It became a state religion on the Izana as well, roughly in the 300s. I can't remember the exact dates, but the 300s, that's when it took place. Some people will place it back earlier on within inside of the gospel writings. But the Ethiopia that's discussed there with the eunuch speaking to the apostle, that Ethiopia is not the Ethiopia of today. That was really and truly the Kushite Merowe locality. So you'll find that Ethiopia, Ethiopia today has kind of adopted the name Ethiopia, but that wasn't the ancestral home of Ethiopia back then.
Okay, that's interesting. Still,
all right. If y'all got any questions, the link is in the chat, but you got to cam up. We got to see who's talking. Kalam would like to see who's talking. Let's go.
Let's go.
Go ahead,
so I've heard of like in the past, I don't know how real it is, but I've heard of coins bearing the title Muhammad, and some of them apparently predate the prophet as we know it today. Is there any truth to that?
Nah, there's no truth to that. We don't have any numismatic evidence of Muhammad until the name Muhammad, particularly to the apostle or the prophet Muhammad. The first coin we have of him particularly is 680, I believe it's 687 underneath the Zubairid rule. There may be another coin with MHMD a little bit earlier on, but that was to do with a governor. That's his own personal name versus the apostle or prophet Muhammad of Islam.
Okay. And lastly, I just wanted to ask you right quick, what do you think in the Quran itself? You probably gone through it. What do you think in there strikes you the most in terms of it being corrupted? Like, what parts of it do you think were corrupted?
I don't think that the Quran itself has been corrupted. I think I'll be very specific. The translations, the commentary, and the lens, which is really and truly the Hadith literature and all types of other literature, has played a role in shaping the translations and the commentary of the Quran. The Quran itself, if you read it in the Arabic language, you will see that it is definitely, in my humble opinion, a very Christian text. But there is certain translations that will make you believe that it's anti-Christianity.
Yes, yeah. And that's basically what I was trying to get from you. Like, what are those verses? Like, I know, like, we've had discussions before, and where you brought up, for instance, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. And, you know, Sunni Muslims would argue that he didn't die on the cross, and he was just basically translated into heaven. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so, you know, that is the famous chapter 4, verse 157 of the Quran. Is it 157? I believe it's 157 of the Quran. You know, they neither killed or crucified him. Okay. Yeah. Now, most people, they don't read it within inside of the context. And that's the problem. The context is that it's the boast of the Jews. If you read a few verses before, it's constantly talking about the Jews, how, you know, they say certain things, but then Allah or the divine voice basically rebuttals them and tells them, no, it's this. You know, your heart is not protected. Rather, God has wrapped your heart, so you know the truth can't get through to you. So God has done all these things here. And if you read it within inside of the context of that, you will understand that when it says that you, i.e., Jews, never killed or crucified the Messiah, it's talking about they did not do it. Everything goes back to Allah. Allah was the one who caused Jesus to die and caused Jesus to be raised again. This is like Christian doctrine 101. Jesus himself says within inside of the gospel that no man can take away my life. I willingly lay down my life to raise it back up again. So it's like Christian doctrine 101. And we have like at least 10 different scholars, from Sean Anthony, Syed Gabriel Reynolds, Crone. There's so many different scholars that have written on this particular topic, at least 10 of them that I've collected, that was written on this particular topic that says exactly the same thing. This is actually a rebuttal to, there is a Jewish text called the Toledoth Yeshua, which is basically a Talmudic text. It's a Talmudic text that the Jews were boasting that they had crucified Jesus, that he's dead, that they cursed him. And when you go into that, you'll understand, you know, the severity of what it means to actually be hung on a tree, to be crucified. They're saying that he's boiling in like excrements and urine and so forth. But the Quranic author knows this text. He literally knows this text and is actually trying to rebuttal this text. But for some strange reason, it's now morphed into something else where somebody else was changed to look like Jesus, and that person got killed, and then Judas, and if it's not Judas, it's another a disciple that did it. So it's a whole heap of, as I said, there's a lot of fabrications and elaborations and stories and myth making that was taken place. And the reason why that took place is because this text was co-opted, as I said before, taken from the South Arabian Peninsula, brought up into North Arabia, completely outside of the context, completely outside of the original people that actually had the text. And now these individuals that were building the empire underneath Abdul Malik were like, okay, cool. We need to make this our doctrine, because now we've got our prophet, we've got our apostle. We need to create a doctrine out of this and so forth. So please explain this text to us. And they're like, we don't understand this text, but you know what? Let's do something. Let's do some exegetical work on this and create stories. So you will find in a lot of these early narrations of creating these stories, there's so much contradictory information that you realize that none of these people were there during that time frame. It's impossible for you to have 6 different stories telling all contradictory stuff. It's like none of you lot were be there.
What surahs in the Quran you would specifically say has been plagiarized and stolen from African history?
I would say, okay, so it's not particular surahs, it's the whole thing. The whole thing originated inside of the Abyssinian Empire of Arabia. Okay, so that itself originated there.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah. Okay. So even the name for God within inside of the Quran, most people know it as Allah, but the name for God within inside of the Quran in the early days was Rahman.
Oh,
Rahman,
Yes.
yeah, Rahman
Yeah.
is literally the Abyssinian, in the South Arabian Peninsula. That was the Abyssinian name for God. Rahman is a Christian deity,
wow.
the name for God. Okay, you even find within inside of on the actual East African continent itself, underneath Wazeb, you also find an inscription with the name Rahman as well. So
Yes.
it was
Yes.
literally an Ethiopian Christian name for God in the 6th century. And then you see it when Muhammad started to introduce this inside of the Quran itself. There is an argument. It's like, who is Rahman? Like, we don't know no Rahman. And so you can see that these northern Arabs, they didn't have a clue who this Rahman was, and it was a foreign deity to them. And you'll find out, a brilliant a brilliant article on this particular subject is Professor Ahmed Jalad. He wrote an article literally showing you that the Basmala, if you guys know what the Basmala is, literally the first line of the Quran. If you read the Quran, all Muslims know this, is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. He shows that this particular line or these verses originated, again, as I said, in South Arabia underneath the Abyssinian rule of Abraham. And it's actually a Christian invocation. And it literally means in the name of Rahman, in the name of God, who is Rahman, Rahim. And it's literally an Ethiopian calque that's been transferred over into the Arabic language and into the Arabic text. And there's plenty other stuff within inside of the Quran that attests to this.
What does Alif Lam Mim means?
Allahu alam. I'll say Allahu alam.
Only God knows, huh?
Only God knows. Most people.
That's why I asked you, because a lot of Muslims that I speak to, they say nobody knows what Alif Lam mean.
Yeah. So there's been some scholarly works that's done on it to kind of figure out what it is. Is it what I've seen so far, apart from the religious crowd. So let's just say let's start off with the basic stuff that Muslims may say, or Sufis may say, or other groups may say. They may say, oh, Alif means Adam and Lam means the night of something, night of power, and M means Muhammad, and all this stuff. This is all made up. Nobody truly knows what it means. Some people have, scholars have said, it could either be, how can I put it, like just writings, just like writings inside that just became, how can I put it, like editorial notes that's become part of the Quran. That's one theory that's been put out there. A second theory is to do with the rhyming structure of the Quran as well. But I would say that there is nothing that is satisfactory to say we know what these letters truly mean.
Mm-hmm. All right, Suntan, you got a question?
Yeah, I do. Kalam, peace to you, brother. I watch you on and off. Here's my question. It's a two-part question. So I'm going to start off and you can answer the two-part way. Because first, is there a different creation story in the Quran than in the Bible? Is it the same creation story, or is it a different one?
Okay. So it's based on Genesis. I wouldn't like to say same, because the Quran, most people just look at it binary, meaning you have the Bible and you have the Quran.
Right.
That's the wrong way to look at it, because we have to realize that the Quran comes out of late antiquity. So there's a lot of other writings that's taken place since the creation of the Bible. Let's just say the Bible, came together in the 1st century. There is loads of different authors, Syriac text, Ethiopic text, Armenian text. A lot of people are just writing and creating narratives and stories that the Quran is actually, I don't want to say borrowing, but it's part of that milieu. It knows these stories and is incorporating those stories inside of itself, inside of the Quran itself. So you could see that the Quran is taking a lot from Genesis, it's taking a lot from Jubilees, with the whole creation of man being formed from the dust of the ground, being formed, being breathed life into, and so forth. So you can see that it has its roots in the Genesis, but there's a lot more that's got into it. There is the book of Jubilees and another book as well, where it has the account of the angels bowing down to Adam. We don't have that in the Bible. The Bible doesn't speak about in the angels bowing down to Adam. But you do find it in Ethiopian texts and other literatures as well, which is like biblical literature. And we find it again with inside of the Quran.
All right, this is the end of the question. This is the second part of it. So, while this creation story that you know of from Islam and from the Bible, where that was going on, and it was a civilization that was already going on as far as Kemet, right? Okay, so if Kemet precedes those creation stories by what, 400 years or however many years it is.
Oh, you're looking at millennia. We're not looking at years or centuries.
Okay,
millennia.
Great. So that means that while these two creation stories came about, Kemet had already existed and passed, right?
100%.
Okay, that's it. Thanks, man. I just want to be clear on that, because when in the creation story it'd be 6 days and he rests on the seventh, right? And if that is so, and our brothers, our Christian brothers and our Hebrew brothers and all our Abrahamic faith brothers said that the world was brand new, but how could it be brand new if it was a civilization that existed way before this creation story? And because I used to be a Christian, so that kind of bothered me and pulled me a little back.
Christian, brother, you still are. You still are a Christian, brother.
Hey, sa.neter.
You're a Christian. It's all right though.
I mean, but what I'm saying is, I'm having a bad trying with my man. You a Christian,
okay?
Yeah, so that's okay.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, why sa.neter said that, and I'm glad he said that though, right, Kalam? So here's my thing right here. I'm neither nor. I'm no Christian. I'm no Kemet. I just believe my religion is just being a good person. So I don't practice. I don't go to church. I don't do this cultism where they get together. I don't follow no dietary plan. I don't do none of these scripture things. But what I do is follow being good, just by the definition, the American definition of good. And that's how I live my life. So when sa.neter sit back and said that is fine, because I don't live as Christians do, right? As they follow their everyday Sunday and they pray, and as Muslims, they pray 3 times. I don't do none of that.
All right.
And I do it through my walk of life. And I appreciate you cutting me off too, bro.
Yes, sir. Hey, let's go, Jose. Let's get it.
What's up, brother Kalam? How you doing?
Salute, King. Salute, man. Well. How you doing?
Good,
I saw you growing a beard.
I saw
you growing a beard since the last time I've seen you.
Say it again?
I swear you've grown a beard since the last time I've seen you.
Yeah. What you really want to say, Kalam, but you're too nice to say, is Islam is really another sect of Christianity, as far as Africanized Christianity that actually stole African culture. Would that be a fair statement, or am I being too blackety black?
I would say that the earliest, I'm going to speak very academically. I would say the earliest interactions, like non-Muslim interactions with Islam, I'm going to do quote unquote Islam, they did view it as a form of Christianity, and they viewed it as a heretical form of Christianity. So I would say it like that. In terms of, but that's Islam. That's Islam. That is the manufacturing of the traditions and so forth. They saw it as that, and after a while, it became its own separate identity, and it became its own religion after some time. But initially, they just viewed it as another form of Christianity or a heretical form of Christianity.
like a new revelation of Christianity, basically, within Christianity.
Something like that, yeah, something like that. Because the first writers called it the Ishmaelite heresy, meaning there is this group of people, let's call them the Arabs, and they had Christianity, but it was a heretical form of Christianity.
And would you say that Abraham was one of the pioneers of like bringing in the ideas of, say, for instance, how we had the Trinity before, but he maybe introduced the Messiah rather than saying the Son? You'd say the Messiah. I think that was one of his early creeds, right?
Yeah. So the Quran is very I'll start in the Quran, then we'll go back into the actual inscriptions. So the Quran is very much so against talking about Jesus in a son type of role. It is very technical. It's very, very technical, because how it's talking is not how we discuss the Son today. Like, I know how you think we discuss the Son today, but most people don't understand. During that time frame in the 6th century, there was a crazy heresy that was taking place inside of Christianity, and this heresy was called tritheism and monophysitism. So these two things combined, during Abraham's time, he was fighting against that, because he had converted to Orthodox Christianity, or Chalcedonian Christianity, or Melkite Christianity. There's various different terms for it. And it seems to me, which I can be corrected to be wrong, so I'm not going to say definitively, but it seems to me he definitely was diaphysitism. It's 100% we know that. But it seems to me he had a monarchical Trinitarian outlook, meaning you have the Father, who is Rahman, and then everything else belongs to him, is part of his properties or his essential nature. So it will be his spirit and his Messiah. Okay, so it's not Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. He's using a very different vocabulary from how the Axumites spoke, or those people who they considered to be monophysites spoke.
All right, God energy, let's go. Can't hear you, brother. Can't hear you.
Peace, brother Kalam.
You got a lag. That's what it is. You got a lag back.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes. Go ahead.
Can y'all hear me now? I'm gonna drop and come back on.
Okay.
Cool. We're having a heat wave over here in the UK. So if you see me sweating, just know that's the reason why.
Yeah, we just had one. We just got over one.
Hey, Sly, let me say this real quick to Kalam.
No questions. No questions, brother.
It's not a question.
No. Because when God energy come back, I want him to just be able to get right back in it. I don't want the brother to have to wait.
Well, I'm saying
he's here.
this.
I know what I'm doing, brother. He's here. He's back. I know what I'm doing, brother. Trust me.
Got you.
Here you go.
Peace, right. Y'all. Can y'all hear me?
We got you. We hear you.
Okay, brother Kalam. Nice to meet you, brother. When you brought up Rahman, the term Rahman and Rahmanan is part of what the epigraphists use to source Islam's influence coming from the South, right? As you may know, that the South Arabian Jews and Christians use that term Rahman for the God of the Bible. So that term Rahman is a loan word from that South Arabian complex, just like Gehenna coming from the Aksumite, liturgy as well, and making its way into Islam. Patricia Caron, like you said in her work, Meccan Trade and the Rise of Islam, she was looking to see if Mecca was the center of the trade routes back in the day. Actually, she found out it was the East Africans, right? So when you look into this, the epigraphists point out that a lot of Islam's influence is coming from South Arabia via the Aksumites. And I have the work here by Suleiman Dost before the Quran, right? Suleiman Dost before the Quran. And I'm going to read a little bit off of page 5. where it says here, I argued there partly as a response to the efforts to place the Quran's emergence further north of the Hijaz, right, within the revisionist and Syricist trend, because they try to point to Syria as having all of this influence. And he said that the Quranic religious expressions has distinct parallels with inscriptions from both northwestern and southwestern ends of the peninsula. And then he continues, while the northern connections are no surprise, right? Neither the Quran's hints at its own historical geography nor the language it uses for divine names, pre-Islamic pagan practices, or key religious terms could be explained without its connections to the religious culture of South Arabia. So Suleiman Das says, I argued further that for a text that allegedly grew out of a Syro-Aramaic milieu, the Quran's Christian vocabulary seemed to betray too many parallels with Southern Arabian and Ethiopian Christian terms, right? So when the people are looking at the epigraphic inscriptions, what they're finding out is that the religious language that gets borrowed by the Quran comes from South Arabia via these Aksumite Christians. And I got wind of Suleiman Das from your live where you had broke the interview that he did talking about this. And as soon as I saw that interview, I went out and got the book over $100. So thank you for putting that information out. There was a brother on the app, the Bigo app, that I used to talk to about the Ethiopian and Aksumite connection to Islam as well. So this is the emerging, revisionist scholarship on this topic, and there's a lot to be uncovered here. So hopefully we could get a presentation on the peopling of Arabia. I have a presentation about that, and it speaks a lot about the East African populating early Arabia. And with this religious connection, East Africa and South Arabia have maintained constant genetic and cultural diffusion back and forth. And just as the peopling of Arabia came from East Africa, you see these religious influences of Christianity making its way into Arabia and then emerging in Islam as well. So great job, brother. Maybe we can link up and talk a little bit later, but good job.
You got to bring them over, Kalam. You got to bring them in. You got to bring the brother in, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Yara, I want you to know I took a screenshot of that. So later on, when you say something, I got you. Christianity is very much a child of Africa. But how come you didn't say Israel as well, Israelites? Are you also including the Israelites or the Hebrew Israelites? Because you said Christianity. So, Yara, are you also including the Hebrew Israelites? All right. Let me see. Ashay, let's go, brother. Ashay.
I was similar to what God Energy was saying. I was just going to bring out that on El Rahman, that when we look at that Rahman, that it was.
Talk up, brother. Talk up.
Can you hear me now, sa.neter?
Loud and clear. That's good.
That's good. All right. Now, what I was going to do was I was going to damn near say the same thing in God Energy. Just point out that the Himyarites, even the pre-Axumites, that they were heavily influenced by the Jews. So even when they was dealing with that epithet or that attribute, most merciful, that is Rahman, that it was still just them identifying with that same old Torah God, if you would. That's all I would say. But God Energy really put it in a more profound way. You can move on.
All right, Kalam, let me ask you, brother. The Christianity today, was it the same as it was for the Ethiopians, or was that somewhat different? And did they call it Christianity?
Yeah. Christian. That's a very loaded question, Okay, let me say this. Christianity, Ethiopic Christianity, is definitely different to, let's say, American Christianity.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. I always say that when they try to bring up Ethiopian, I always say the Ethiopian was totally different than what it is today. Go ahead, brother. Continue.
Yeah, 100% different. there's so much that's gone on because there's so much to literally break down to show why their Christianity is completely different to our Christianity over here in the West, because you're looking at the splitting off earlier on with inside of the 4th and 5th century during the you got the Chalcedonian stuff that took place that had a split between the Nestorian or Eastern Christians, the Oriental Orthodox Christians, and the Catholic/Orthodox Christians. There's that split. Then it further splits later on within sort of the Latin periods. They split. Then it splits yet again during King King James, and Anglican Christianity is brought about. And then Anglican Christianity and other forms of Christianity went over into America, which then created its own thing, created its Protestant movements, created its Baptist movements, created Seventh-day Adventists, Jehovah's Witness. All these different type of movements took place and is completely different. It would look like two different religions if you literally put American style Christianity, Baptist style Christianity versus Ethiopian Christianity. It'll be two different Christianity, two different religions. You look at it as like, there's no way these two things are the same thing. Maybe you wouldn't even think that they have the same book in common, because they're dealing with the Ge'ez script and they're reading certain other books versus the books that we read with inside of Western tradition of Christianity. So I would definitely say it's two different types of Christianity, full stop.
All right. Easy Bandz, you got anything?
Well, I just wanted to go back to when you were speaking about how there's different descriptions of the Prophet Muhammad, and how some descriptions of him are white versus some are black, right? And so how maybe if you can expound on that a little bit, on how this came to be, where some of those hold a precedence over like the ones that say is black, because I haven't even come across the ones that say is black, right?
Okay. Give me a second. Let's see if I can bring something up for you.
Ooh, man. Y'all rock giving me some good screenshots here.
Yes, sir. That's how to act. That's how to act. Yeah. But Elder Yara knows that he said this before, that the Israelites became a people in Egypt. You know what I'm saying? And they left Egypt as a mixed multitude. So I don't think Brother Yara is, against anything that you're saying necessarily.
Right.
Word. Jay, get them screenshots.
Yeah, you know that.
But this is my thing though. Where are all the Muslims at?
Yeah.
Brother Sa, what's going on with the Muslims, man?
We only got one Muslim, man. We gotta act like we got multiple Muslims. Brother Law can't fight every Muslim fight, man. He can't fight every Muslim fight.
I know it's got to be more Muslims than him, man.
The Muslims be scared, not Brother Law, not talking about Brother Law, but they be get their information checked and challenged.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you,
I've got a little present.
There's a lot of Muslims that be over there where Tazariak at, and they be getting it in. I got to tell Tazariak to bring some Muslims over.
Word. Next time Brother Kalam comes in for a more expanded presentation, maybe you can invite some of them.
Yeah,
definitely. I've got about 10 minutes left, but I'm gonna just quickly show you this right here. It's from another presentation that I've done called Forgery, Muhammad Black or White. And if it's been shared, let me know.
Yes, it's being shared.
Cool. So, right here, it's just Lane's lexicon. So, when we're talking about the Arabic language, if you want to learn the Arabic language, this is like the go-to from an academic standpoint of learning it. So when you type in, search word for Sauda or Sudan, which literally means black, what do we find here? It says here, okay, so Sauda, sorry, can you not see? No, you can't see my my mouse. Let's see if you can see my mouse. Give me a second. No, I don't think you can see my mouse. But anyways, it says here, Sauda as opposed to Ahmar, and meaning the Arab race. and also according to some in the case also the black. So yeah, can you not see that the first 3 lines?
Wow.
Yeah. So this is how the Arabs refer to themselves, is that they were black. They were of the black race. If you go through and you look at the description, it'll tell you, yep, we have curly hair, we're black skinned, and all these other things here. But for some reason, inside of another great place to go is this particular website called the Red and the Black. Al-Ajam wa al-Arab.com. I was sent to the Red and the Black, and it goes through a lot of stuff showing you how Arabs were being described as being black, and the other groups of people, i.e. the foreigners, the Romans and so forth, they were described as being red. So it's very interesting to know that. But you was talking about whiteness. I'm trying to find this stuff to do with white. Okay, here it is. Yeah. Whiteness versus blackness. So it says here, the narrator added that the prophet raised his hands to such an extent that the whiteness of his armpits were visible. So a lot of people bring up these types of quotes to say, oh, look, he's white because certain body parts of him was mentioned as being white. And I'm like, okay, cool. Because I already know that people don't know the cultural context of the language. You have to understand the language to really know. And if you are white supremacist mentality or pale Arab supremacist mentality, this will be a support for you to say, yeah, look, the prophet was white. Allahu Akbar. And, everybody be happy about that. But I'll be like, okay, cool. That's one way of looking at it. But what do you do when there are other, other hadiths or other reports that says this? The Apostle of Allah, may Allah bless him, spread his left foot so much so that the blackness of the upper part of it was visible.
And that's Sahih?
Yeah, that's Sahih. So
Sahih
now,
Bukhari. Okay.
This is Ibn Sa'ad's Tabakat. Okay. So now a black supremacist or a black power Muslim could be like, look, the prophet was black. Allahu Akbar. And everybody be shouting Allahu Akbar. I'm like, okay, cool. That's one way of doing things if you want to be biased and have confirmation bias. But it's either one or the other, or they're both true, or like what's going on here? Like, what is your prophet a zebra? Because clearly it's saying that one body part is white, the other body part is black. What is going on here? Okay. So you will have confusion. Like it's either, he's black or he's white, or it has nothing to do with the complexion of his skin, full stop. With inside of the language of Arabic, when you say something is white and when you say something is black, it has different connotations. So for example, let's say, for example, you see the underneath am I visible right now? Let me just quickly do this. The underneath of my arm here would be called white. The outer part of my arm, if I can show you, the outer part of my arm will be called black. The inside will be called white. And it's literally just saying it's light. The lighter area is that. The darker area is that. Say my cheeks right now. You see right here, this area where there is no hair is called the whiteness of my cheek. But this area over here, where there is actually hair, this will be considered to be the blackness of my cheek. Okay. So you have to understand the cultural context of how white and black is being used to really understand what it's talking about. Another way, black is, or white and black is being used also, is if you want to say somebody is a holy person or somebody is pure, you will say that person is abyad, meaning abyad is another term for meaning white, but it's not literally white. It's just simply meaning that this person is pure and holy. So there's a lot of these things that, because the translators of these Arabic texts have a pale Arab supremacy already, they would translate it in a particular way to make you believe that Muhammad was white-skinned. And I'm pretty sure if black people were in power and control and had the power to translate these texts, they would highlight the blackness of his foot and be like, see, the prophet is black. But again, this is just supremacist ideologies, pale supremacist ideology or black supremacist ideology. I'm simply saying throw away those ideologies, throw away, whether it's black or white supremacy, and look at the language for itself, look at the text for itself, and try to understand the context, the historical and the cultural context of what the text is trying to portray. It says here, he stretched forth his foot so that the blackness of the upper part is visible. So if you look at your foot right now, you see that the upper part of your foot would consider to be the darkest part of your foot, whereas the bottom of your foot, which is the sole, will be considered to be the whiteness of your foot. Your feet are not literally white or black. It's just talking about, the darkness of your foot and the lightness of your foot. That's all it's talking about. And it's the same when you see these hadiths.
Yes. Real quick, I see you got energy. I'm letting you go right quick. I want to ask you, what does the majority of the debaters say at the Speaker's Corner about Prophet Muhammad? Do they accuse him of being white, or do the majority say he was a man of hue?
A lot of them will try to avoid that conversation, full stop. For some reason, they love to avoid it. Brother, akhi, it doesn't matter what color they are, and so forth, right? They always do this stuff. There is no superiority in Islam. There's no a black man over a white man, and so forth. They will pull this card, right? But then you ask them, what color is Bilal? Immediately, they'll tell you that Bilal was an Abyssinian African slave. The question is, why do you know that Bilal was an African slave, but yet you don't know, or you don't want to discuss what color your prophet is? Why is that?
Did Prophet Muhammad own slaves?
Person was a slave. Sorry?
Did Prophet Muhammad own slaves?
According to the Hadith literature, 100% he owned slaves.
Yeah. Right, God.
100% he owned slaves.
Easy Bandz. Go ahead, Easy Bandz. Go ahead. You got the next question. This is the last question, right, Kalam?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got energy. So you, brother.
It's on me. Oh, okay. So what Kalam read about the Arabs and the word meaning black, seeing themselves as black, that's exactly what I brought out in my debate against Chief X. Not only did I point out that the North African Berbers were originally black, I also pointed out how Professor Toynbee notes that the Umayyads self-referenced as Swarthy people. Professor Toynbee pointed out also that when the Umayyad used this term Swarthy, talking about their blackness, they were talking about a contrast between them and the ruddy or red peoples like the Turks and Iranians, with the sense of superiority. So here Kalam goes right here as well, putting a nail in the coffin again on the debate that we had. And people were actually surprised to find out the range of colors that the Arabs had, and that yes, a lot of them were black. They self-referenced as black, and a lot of these black, dark-skinned Arabs are coming specifically from the Hijaz region, where the Qurayshi tribe is. And a lot of this Ethiopian and Arab mingling happens in the Hijazi region. So thank you, Brother Kalam, for that. My question to you would be, when you see hadiths and things like that may give a different characteristic to Muhammad, would you attribute some of these changes to the change in the Islamic civil war from the Umayyad dynasty to the Abbasid dynasty? We know a lot of the hadith, the tahriq, the tafsir, a lot of this extra Quranic material is being produced during the Abbasid period, which paints Islam in the modern we see today, as opposed to what the epigraphists, historians point out about the original Hijazi and Umayyad peoples. How much weight do you put on the transfer of power from the Umayyads to the Abbasid?
So yeah, I would say that I don't think that there is much of a change there, because the Abbasids again were a dark-skinned people. Al-Jahiz was literally writing with inside of the Abbasid period. He was
Al-Jahiz, I quoted him.
Yeah, he was being asked by basically the second in command, the vizier of the whole of the caliphate, to write about the virtues of the blacks. So if we didn't have him writing about this, and the second in charge, the second in charge of the whole caliphate, asking him to write about these dark-skinned black people, we wouldn't know a lot of this information. Because yet again, it even in Al-Jahiz is talking about the Abbasids or Abbas, the family of Abbas were black-skinned people. So clearly, during that time period of Abbasid rules, they were happy for Al-Jahiz to write about the blackness of themselves, of their ancestry, and so forth. So the change, I would say, didn't technically take place there. And I wouldn't say that it even technically take place. It's just the emphasis emerged. And let me explain what I mean by the emphasis. So you have people like Bukhari, Muslim, later on got canonized as being Sahih and as being the most authentic literature pieces. These individuals came from, Bukhara, like Uzbekistan and all these other areas, which is like Central Asia, like European,
Uzbekistan, yep,
all of that. So these individuals are, how can I put it, gathering the reports and choosing which reports to keep and which reports to leave off. So they've chosen to keep certain hadiths and to emphasize certain hadiths. So because you can choose which books go into this, which reports go into your works, and leave off, the darker skin imagery, and then you could emphasize by putting more and more of that light skin imagery or text that allude to whiteness, you now paint a picture that's not actually in the text itself, but you start to paint a picture that this was, Muhammad was white and, the followers were white and so forth, to people who have no knowledge of Arabs. Everybody during that time period, 7th and 8th century, know what color the Arabs were, know what they were calling these people. They were calling these people Hagarenes. Hagarenes means literally the children of Hagar. Nobody is in confusion back then what color Hagar was. She was either a black Egyptian woman or a black Ethiopian woman, like in terms of late antiquity, Christians and Jews. In their head, that's what Hagar is. Even inside of Islamic literature, they themselves talk about Hagar. I don't have it in this one, but maybe another one. It has it here. Let me just big this up. They themselves here boast. Not this one. One second. They themselves here boast about coming from Hagar. It says here Hagar was an Egyptian, and it says here Abdullah ibn Wahab from Abdullah ibn Lahaya, on the authority of Umar, the client of Bukhara, told me that the apostle said, show piety in dealing with the protected peoples, i.e. Egypt, those of the settled lands, the black, the crinkly haired, for they have a noble ancestor and marriage ties with us. Omar explained that by ancestry, the prophet referred to the fact that Prophet Ismail's mother came from them, and the marriage tie was contracted with when the apostle took one of them as concubines. Ismail's mother, Hagar, the mother of the Arabs. Okay, so Hagar is said to be the mother of the Arabs, and it's alluding to the fact that she is black with crinkly hair. This is how, Hagareans or Hagar and the children of Hagar, i.e. the Ishmaelites, this is how they were viewed back then, as being black people with curly hair. It's just that later on, during the years, the codification of these literature pieces that try to portray a whiter imagery, then you have the takeover by the Ottoman period, which are Turkish people, and then you have the artwork from the Turks and the Iranians and so forth. They'll tell you in Islam, pictures are forbidden of Muhammad. But when you look at these pictures, you will see that Muhammad and the rest of the Arabs are painted white. When you start to watch movies like The Messenger, you'll see that, all of the Arabs are painted or are depicted as being white characters. And Bilal is the only one who's like a very dark-skinned African person. This is all to indoctrinate you with pale-skinned Arab supremacy. Okay, these things don't actually exist within inside of the text and within inside of history, because within inside of history, they all knew them to be black-skinned individuals. I'll give you another account over here. It says here, the Arabs insisted. Let's do this here. Yeah. Okay. So the there's the takeover in the 634s of Egypt. It says here, the great Christian functionary who at one point led the defender of Egypt, Ubadah, the chronicle tells us, was black. And when the Arabs came to the Mukakas and entered his presence, Ubadah led them. The Mukakas was frightened by his blackness. So this is an Arab that's coming in to the Mukakas and said to them, "Get this black man away from me and bring another to talk to me." The Arabs insisted that Ubadah was the wisest, best, and noblest among them, and was their appointed leader, whom they obeyed and to whose judgment they deferred. The Mukakas asked, "How can you be content that the black man should be foremost amongst you? It is more fitting that he should be below you." "Indeed, no," they replied, "for though he is black as you see, he is still the foremost among us in position, in precedence, intelligence, and in wisdom, for blackness is not despised amongst us." So you can see, okay, this is from Race and Slavery in the Middle East by Bernard Lewis. So you can see the accounts of, the Arabs were black-skinned individuals. But for some strange reason, in the 21st century, I always say this, we are historically ignorant. So we don't know this stuff. We literally don't know this stuff.
All right. I want to say thank you, my brother Kalam. You can close us out.
All right. Family, thank you for tuning in to our fantastic presentation over here on sa.neter channel, House of Consciousness. This is the home of the conscious community. I'm so grateful to be part of.
Was you streaming too, Kalam?
No, I wasn't streaming.
You should have been streaming. It's all right if you want to grab this and throw it up on your channel. It's good.
Yeah,
you got the green light.
You.
All right.
Thank you. All right. Yeah. So this is the home of consciousness, man. And thank you. I'm always pleased to be graced to be on this channel to present information. The last time I came on, I presented some stuff on Kemet. And today we're presenting stuff on Islam. It just shows the diversity of what we do over on Titans TV, where we discuss all different types of topics. And yeah, please, if you haven't already, go over to my channel, Titans TV, subscribe, and you can see a whole list of shows specifically on the Abyssinian origins of Islam that I do. And you can see a lot of debates and interviews as well of the past that we've done on that channel as well. So thank you once again, sa.neter, for having me on the channel, and salute to my brother Easy Bandz for creating the hookup right now. My brother, love.
Peace and blessings, man.
Peace, brother. Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you.
Great job, man. Great job.
Brother Suntan, I need you to send me the email so I can send you the link for the debate, brother.
Oh, okay. Hey, sir, while Kalan's still there, I wanted to ask him, do he have a deity?
No, man. No, you got to ask that. He closed out already, brother.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wanted to know, did he have something that he, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
cool.
That's okay. All right, so I get that at you and stuff.
All right,
like
so
that.
text me that right away as soon as you can. And I want to say to my brother Yara, you set your OG up this morning, man. Yara, you set your OG apostle up this morning, left him out there to get cooked by Pastor Bennett. And hey, I called you and I said, yo, I think you need to get in there and help your OG. And you left him out there. But I know you was busy. I got you. But man, listen. He took a whooping he will never forget, brother.
He was mad, man.
It's so damn crazy with you Hebrews, Yara, that Mary herself said to the ghost, because Yara believed the same thing Apostle believed. Right. It's just ridiculous at this point. Mary said, how can this happen when I have not known man? And she was speaking to the spirit, the ghost. Right? The spiritual ghost. What was it? Easy Bandz?
Yeah. She was talking about, she was talking to God, basically.
The Holy Ghost or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't get why y'all still say this. It's over now, my brother. Yara, it's over. And if you don't think it's over, I got Easy Bandz that'll take on that topic. I got a lot of people that'll take that topic on, brother. You got let me show you. You got this coming up on Sunday. I hope you're doing your research. I would love to see you do good. I would love to see you do good, brother Yara.
Yara's got to beat him up, man.
You think so?
I think so, 100%, man. Y'all, you guys, I think y'all underestimate Elder Yara, man. Like real talk, you need to start taking him more seriously, man, because he's coming like with some fire. Trust me.
True.
So, yeah.
Yara do get it in. He gets busy.
Word.
One thing about my brother Yara, he don't run from nobody. Nobody never accused Yara of running. So that's one thing about Yara. He got that fire energy, man, for real.
Yes, sir.
And I know you're gonna be down with Nepal on this one, Easy Bandz.
Already. This was supposed to be mine. I was in the comments. I got at brother Professor Jabari, and then he came in the comments. He's like, "Yo, I'll debate you on that," because I challenged him, right? And then next thing I know, you gave it to Nepal. So salute to Nepal. She's got an easy win, man. You know, against the easy win against the Mayweather of the community. So this will be big for her. You feel me?
Well, if it's one person that can defeat Jabari, it would be Nepal.
Yeah, she's got this in the bag.
Y'all brothers is weak. You know, the mother can deliver. Yeah.
Right. I got full confidence in her, man. I'm backing her 100% on this one. This is an easy win for her.
As you can see, your brother, I've always been fresh and fly and down. Always, man. Always.
My God.
Always been coming. Come on, man. Y'all playing with me, man.
That's a young side there.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I see you still rocking the Crocs and stuff, right? Not the Crocs, the Gators. My bad. I'm tripping.
Now, when I bought that coat the day that I got it on, so I wasn't able to give it to my tailor right away. As you can see, it's a little big. Look at the sleeves. It was big. So I took it to the cleaners the next day, but I rocked it when I first got it. You can still see the tag right here on my sleeve. You see right there on my sleeve. So you can still see the tag, but I just wanted to rock it. So I had to send it to my tailor the next day after I rocked it one day. You know?
Hey, Si.
Yeah.
So, you know where I'm at here in Detroit. So y'all got y'all clothes is cheaper coming from New York than what we pay, right?
Hell no, I don't know where you get that from, bro.
They said they said New York got all the stuff, so it ain't expensive.
Nah, don't let them lie to you, brother. Do not let them lie to you.
It's expensive as hell in New York. The only thing though,
you get
a lot of deals though. You know, you could get a lot of deals like, you know, something dropped off the back of the truck type thing, you know?
Yeah, you get that. Now, it was one thing I could tell you that I was talking about the other day is that notice how they go up on the food, but they don't go up on the money. Like the people that gets welfare, that gets food stamps, they food stamps don't go up, but the food continue to go up.
It's crazy.
And you can buy $300 worth of food and walk out with 2 shopping bags. You'd be like, what the hell is this?
Yep.
And it don't even look like you went shopping.
Trust me.
Because the food, man, is just sky high in New York. All of that, man.
Guess what they did up here, Si?
What's that?
With that SNAP card, the food stamp card, you can go to McDonald's. You can go to all kind of places with that card up here.
Yeah, you used to be able to go to the Chinese store and all of that down here, but they don't do that no more.
They stopped it.
You know what? I would love for them to bring back the food stamp money.
Oh, that was crazy. That was crazy.
It was nice right there.
Yeah, use that bank rolls of those things.
Yep.
And y'all know what's crazy? You got like Elon Musk, who's a trillionaire now, but like earlier last year, he was the one cutting down programs for the poor. So they're taking away money from the poor, and then they're getting richer. That's the craziest part. I don't know if you guys are, taking that in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Elon Musk is a trillionaire now.
Damn.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, man. But yeah, thanks for bringing Brother Kalam on, man. This is something he's been talking about, and it's catching fire, this topic. You even had, I'm not sure if you're aware of Myth Vision, right? A lot of guys watch that Myth Vision stuff, and they come at Christians off that. But Myth Vision was also talking about that. So it's catching fire. He's been on a bunch of shows talking about that. So I appreciate you bringing him on, man, and, letting him get his flowers, man, on the platform.
All right.
I texted to you, Si, on the number we talk on.
All right, I got you. I'm gonna send it to you later on today.
Yeah, right.
He's the
You
Black
ain't coming
Power.
back on today?
Yeah, no, he's the Black Power.